Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Next up, I've been looking forward to this one. It's called the HTC One M8, and this is from Leo. Hi, Leo.
Hi, Shannon. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you
so much.
for taking this over.
I'm taking the reins.
But what's good about that is I can now focus on my reviews.
Yes.
And I'm really thrilled to be reviewing this. And I should say right up front, I bought the HTC One when it came out last year. And I've bought this. I'm using the HTC One 2
Yay.
on Verizon. So these are actually my personal phones. I really love the HTC One. You know, sequels, when you're talking movies, usually suck, right?
Right, of
Jaws
course.
2, Matrix 2, Rocky 7.
Oh, that one was okay. It was all right. It was all
Matrix
right.
3 was really bad.
Yeah, that one
but
was
that's
terrible.
because you're taking a great story and you're kind of elaborating. You're trying to make more money off of it. When it comes to technology, usually we get better with age
Yes.
because we're improving
They
the
learn
product,
from their faults.
sanding down the rough edges, and keeping the stuff that worked. And that's exactly what HTC has done. The new HTC One, we'll call it the M8, is a sequel that fixes a lot of things I didn't like about this original HTC One without eliminating the stuff I liked the most about it. First of all, you got to take a look at it. This is the M8. It is a gorgeous phone. That's the first thing you'll see. Unibody aluminum case. 5-inch 1080p display. It's got the Qualcomm 801 processor, which is brand new.
Oh,
it was just
cool.
announced, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. It's dual-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and you can either get 16 or 32 gigabytes of storage. One thing the One has added, which is really great, is this little hole right here. You can add an SD card to up to 128 gigs more storage. So if you're a
Nice.
digital hoarder, you'll like this.
I love
Part of the
external.
problem with the sleek form factor like this is the battery's not removable. It never is going to be in a phone that looks this good. They have increased the capacity, though, about 13%. It's 2,600 milliamp hours. And despite the fact that this is a big 5-inch screen, the old one was 4.7, and it's a much faster processor, you do, in fact, get better performance and better battery life, noticeably better battery life. I'd say, you know, I was able to get through the day. In fact, I can show you right now what I've got today, because I have a little battery monitor running on here. I'm at 34% after 9 hours.
Wow.
So that means I have another, say 3 hours left. That's about right, about 12 hours
That's not bad.
of battery life. And that's pretty heavy usage, because
Right.
one thing you're going to do with this phone is use it a lot. They also have a super low power mode that'll let you limp into the finish. If you get down to 5%, it actually go for many, many more hours by turning off a lot of features. One thing people are not going to be happy about, they've kept what they call the ultra pixel camera. It's only 4 megapixels. That was something people didn't like about the original one. I got to say, they have done a lot to make this better. They've improved the actual software capture. It's the same hardware, but they've improved the software capture. They've added some settings. For instance, all of the settings now can be manual: exposure, white balance, and
Even
ISO.
focus,
You can
right?
set ISO to a maximum. That'll help with the graininess in the low light shots. This is a 28 millimeter effective f2.0 camera. That means very good low light performance. These are 2 micron pixels. Very good low light performance. And when you set the ISO to say 400 or 800 max, you won't get the graininess and the overexposure we did on last year's one. They did take out optical image stabilization, and you will miss it, especially if you shoot a lot of video. But in its place, you'll see there's a second sensor up here. HTC says we couldn't do both. This is, oddly enough, this is the old front sensor from the original HTC One, and you can't see what's in this sensor. They're using it for depth information, and that gives you selective focus. Remember the Lytro camera that you could...
Yes,
so actually,
I
we
very
have some
much remember
images. I
that.
took a picture of Jolie Odell when she was here for Twit Sunday. So that's the picture I took. And by the way, look how clear it is. The colors are good. Clarity's good. Of course, there's lots of light in the studio. First thing I did is I changed the background. Watch the background carefully. Defocused it. That gives you
It
that...
did a good job, too.
It does a
didn't mess
pretty
up
good
her
job.
at
The
all.
35 millimeter effect of having a shallow depth of focus. There's some other things you could do because you know where the background and the foreground is. Show us the next one here. You can play with the backgrounds. This is kind of a motion blur. Keep going. You can also do some crazy plugins. I gave her an afro and a cowboy.
Because why not?
Okay, this is a little Samsung-y, and I think a lot of these things you're not going to use. Keep going, Brian, if you would, through all of them. This is kind of a cool effect. It makes a movie out of it, but on the screen, it's actually an image with, you can have leaves, you can have dandelions. I think the quality and the clarity is great. I think you're going to play with the Hasselhoff is from Google. That's not my fault. Keep going.
Oh, that's great.
Let's go back. Get Ozzy. There's another Hasselhoff. Now, actually, go back to Jason, because you'll see the selective focus again.
Oh, wow.
That's, again, ignore Hasselhoff. Google Plus did that to me. But that's the original image. And then and I think that's a nice image. It's not always perfect. It's done in camera. Here's Chad. That's a decolorized background. Keep going through those. The zoom. There's a black and white kind of sketch background. This is all done automatically very quickly too with the new processor with the click of a mouse. That's the original image. I think this is a great camera that's giving me fabulous images, even of grog. There's a macro focus. You can see that's quite good. I've been very happy. I don't rate camera phone images in terms of, oh, wait a minute, now stand back. Here's another feature. You can play with the skin tone, the eye size, the chin size. This is built into the camera, this little slider. Alex Lindsay showed me this. It's his fault. It's probably not something you're going to do a whole lot. The camera really is nice, and the camera application has been much improved. So I have to give this an A+ on the camera. It is a really beautiful phone, Gorilla Glass on the front, 90% metal. That means it's going to be bigger and heavier, and it's noticeably so.
In fact, a little bigger than the first one.
I'll show you the old HTC One. You can see it's kind of noticeably bigger, but it's also, I think, noticeably more beautiful. I really think, and I loved the original HTC One. The M8 is even more beautiful. The heaviness, the solid, it feels like solid, so it feels like a quality product, and I think it'll catch the eye. This is the gray steel. They have gold and silver as well, depending on your carrier. Verizon sold me this 32 gig gray steel version. They have kept the most, I think, one of the best features of the original HTC One. The boom sound, they call it boom sound now that they've sold Beats. Dual speakers in the front, left and right. Really gives you good sound. I'll play, let me play a little music for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Just a little rap music coming out of the boom sound speakers. I have it on Do Not Disturb. That's another nice feature. I'll hold it up to my mic.
That sounds pretty good.
From there, you get a better sense of it because you're in the room with us.
Yeah.
It's not, look, you're not going to rock the house with it, but for a smartphone, it's probably the best sound I've ever heard. And for books on tape, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. It is really fantastic for that. This is something that I loved so much in the original one. They kept it. Nice job. But it does add to the height of this, and that's one thing people are not going to like. Before you buy this, you absolutely should hold it in your hand. It's heavier, and it's taller than a lot of phones, and that may bug some people. They've, as you probably can tell, they've got Sense on here. I'm not a big fan of manufacturer UI updates.
I like vanilla Android.
I like vanilla Android, but this is pretty good. It doesn't really get in the way. They got rid of my #1 complaint about the old one. Remember, it had capacitive buttons at the bottom. The HTC didn't do anything. It was like annoying. No, you could see we're back to the traditional Android buttons, the back button, the home button, the recent apps button. These all operate exactly as Google wants them to in standard Android. It does come with KitKat 4.4.2, not the latest, but pretty recent. That's another problem with carrier updates, is it slows down updates, or rather manufacturer UI, it slows down updates from your carrier. Nevertheless, with 4.4.2, you're not going to feel too left behind. There are some kind of nice things that I like. They have a gesture-based system, so when you're holding the phone in upright mode, you double tap it, it wakes up the phone. This is another good one. If you use the camera a lot, you put it in landscape mode and press the volume button once, and the camera turns on, and then you press it again, and you can actually take a picture right away. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I was pressing the wrong volume button. Press the down button. It turns on the camera without unlocking the phone, and you can take a picture right away. Be careful, though, because this takes 12 frames a second if you keep holding it down. It's quite amazing. The speed of the processor is really fabulous.
Wow.
When it saves those 12 frames, you can actually, a button comes up that says best photo, and you can actually choose the best photo among them. Blink feed is back. I see best shot. Let's take the best shot out of all of those. Only your best shot will be saved. Throw away the rest. Yes, thank you. Please do that. Those were 12 horrible shots. Back to the home. And see, I love that. That home button's there. That's very much like a Nexus 5 would operate.
Yes, it is.
One thing that is a little different, when you swipe left, you've got this new Actually, not new. It was in the old one, but it's an improved blink feed feature. This is kind of the equivalent of their flipbook. It's updating now. You choose the content, you control it. It has social media content and more. I always use Nova Launcher. I use a third-party launcher, which hides a lot of this. You know what? Actually, Sense 6 ain't bad. I'm going to give them a plus on that. Even though it's not Android, it's got some nice features. For instance, now you can control what quick settings you have. You have an edit button here. These quick settings are quite easy to use and quite fast. I think it's pretty nice. So pros and cons. There's some significant pros. I think it is. You might say arguably, but I think it is the most beautiful phone on the market today. The all-metal design really shouts quality. I love the screen. It's 1080p. It's gorgeous. It's accurate. They've done a nice job with that. And I love the camera. They've made this 4-megapixel camera a winner, in my opinion. The duo sensor, the additional software add both fun things and I think some seriously useful features. The cons, well, they lose the optical image stabilization with this duo sensor. The hand feel might not be quite right for you. Yes, it is. It's a big and heavy phone. And if you're looking at other 5-inchers, it's about $300 more than a comparable Nexus 5. That's a big price to pay.
Expensive.
It's expensive. It's like all the other. It's like the iPhone and the Galaxy S5. It's that $600, $700 phone.
Right.
However, overall, when I compare the HTC One to not only its predecessor last year, but every other phone in the market, I have to say this is one of this year's absolute best phones. Maybe we'll say it's the best phone of the year. At least it is so far. It's a definite buy. HTC One. It's called the M8. It's the new HTC One, and I love it.
HTC One Mate.
Mate. I don't know why they didn't call it the Mate. That's a good idea.
That would be great.
It's a great phone.
Thank you,
This is
Leah.
going to be a tough one. I bought it, and I'm a Moto X fan. I think I might have found the phone to replace the Moto X.
Really? Ooh. I'm still stuck on my Nexus 5 myself, but I love that phone.
Well, and that's what I compare it most directly to because of the
Right.
size of the screen, and I think you should look at it.
Yeah? All right. Maybe
wouldn't
I will
mind
have
that SD
changed it.
card? I know
Oh,
you
we'll
wouldn't mind
see.